press coach. What could one say about a 5-0? It was complete superiority by Uruguay. What could you share with us? It is tough to explain a defeat of this nature, but we conceded 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. Up to the 35 minutes of the second half, we were not controlling the match, but we played differently from the first half. We moved the marking upward and we moved our lines higher. So the defeat may not put in the shadow everything we did well, and we had many players that were playing their debut. We have very young players, two that are 22 years old, a couple of 21 years old. So we have around 7 U23 players. So today we are the third youngest national team in Copa America. So we have to keep on working and continue on this process. I think that many national teams went through this process, and now it is our turn to suffer as we're suffering. I think it's very important not to pressure the players. We have to leave them to work because they are adding minutes in a very important tournament such as Copa America. We have another match on Monday. We need to try to score a win since Bolivia has not won a match in Copa America for 10 years now. Mauricio Panoso for Red 1, Red Uno. Mauricio, good evening, coach. What can you say to the Bolivian fans, taking into consideration that in the development, it performed better than against the US today? So what can you tell them, taking into account that the qualifiers are ahead and the last match against Panama, even though it was an agonizing defeat? Okay, so in the last match of the qualifiers, it was 5-0 to Brazil, and then Argentina in La Paz. I think every national team went through a process. Every young player can greatly improve, and at the end, I talked a little bit with Bielsa. The head coach praised our players, mainly the young ones, and we have to work. We have to work to improve, and we talked about modifications. I think that if not, Bolivia will maintain the last 30 years streak, and I think we have to keep working on our players. We played against one of the best teams in the world. They are favorites to win the title. We had waged our best battle against them, and there are some details, of course, some mistakes we've made. 2 goals were scored by set pieces, 2 goals that came after throw-ins. We had the throw-ins and we conceded counterattacks. But what can we say to the Bolivian fans? Everyone is sad, disappointed with the result, but I think it would be important, once more, to allow the players to continue working at ease. And if you want to talk about someone, talk about me. I'm older, but I think the players have a brilliant future ahead, and we are here to increase our performance and our work and triple our work so that we can improve. Bastián Guíñez Escobar, Independencia España de Selección, Chilean media outlet. You mentioned that there are some similar aspects, like with the defeat against the US, like the goals that came from set pieces, and where do you, where can you find the positives today in the run-up to the qualifiers to the World Cup? Well, the takeaways are that we have two players of great quality. In the last 4 matches, we have conceded goals in the first minutes, and when you have young players, of course, it makes it complicated. It's a challenge. And we had 35 minutes in which we increased ball possession. It's not easy when you have a national team that pressures all over the field, that pressures very well, that they are used to play in this way, and they are coming from major leagues all over the world. They have more experience than us. So we need to continue with our hard work, trying to win every day, and the players need to understand that defeats are a part of the process, a part of life, and we have to continue on this path of improvement. Rafael Vendria, coach for Zona Mixta Sports. How do you take this result for the construction of the 11 starters that you want to decide on? Well, we are undergoing a generational renovation, and we have to be patient. Conceding 5 goals makes it a very tough defeat. We cannot give up, and I think we have to continue working. It's not easy. We have one more match to play. It's not something easy to explain the defeats, but we are gaining experience. We have players that had their debut today in Copa America. We have 15 or 16 players that are playing their first tournament of Copa America, and some others. And we're playing against teams with players that have more experience. So we need to continue on this path. We have to try to give a good performance facing Panama and hopefully scoring a win and bringing a victory to Bolivia. RDC Deportes Santa Cruz, Bolivia, coach. Without knowing the daily work and the work with the team, haven't you found yet the ideal 11 starters, taking into consideration the modifications from one match to the next? Well, we are trying to find the ideal lineup. We have a baseline. Some of the players were a bit worn down after the match against the USA, and we have made some modifications, but the starters today are the baseline for the next matches against other opponents, such as Panama. The young players that had their debut today had a great performance. They competed against brilliant players. They added minutes, and I think we're finding the baseline. Good evening, Coach Leo Ortiz for Carve Deportiva. First, I think you played a great role, and as Uruguayan, we are told we are one of the favorite national teams. So, what is your take on this victory by Uruguay? Well, Uruguay is a favorite team given the work they are doing, Bielsa's work, and the moment that the players are at. I think that one or two of its players are playing in the Uruguayan League. All the rest out of the 26 are playing in major leagues overseas. We have 4 players that play overseas. So that gives you a greater experience when you are able to play against talented players in major leagues. In this match, we conceded a goal after a set piece before 10 minutes elapsed. They are a bit taller as players. Maybe they seized that as an advantage. But of course, it is a tough result. They are disappointed with the result, but we still need to see the positives. We were able to compete, and the players added some more minutes. They are earning experience, and as I already mentioned, we have to continue working to achieve improvements and try to get ready for the qualifiers after Copa America. Brian Hoyos, BNN Bolivia. I had a question on the tactics. What was your tactical game plan? Was it successful or not? And could this be the same tactical plan against Panama, taking into account that Panama won against the US and Bolivia lost against the US? So they're going to be a tough opponent. Yes, these are difficult matches. These are the best teams in CONCACAF and South America. I did not watch Panama's match, but I think they gave it their all to win. We cannot do without a backline of 5 because we have fullbacks that need that game plan. They are a bit more offensive, but I think that the defense does better with a line of 3. We've tried with a line of 4 to close a bit the areas with the fullbacks, but the ball is always reaching the box. And we have closed the spaces very well, so we haven't considered goals in that way. But I think the 4th goal by Valverde, that it was a build-up play. He went on an inward play, and then he reached the area in front of the goalkeeper. But that was the idea, to close the flanks a little bit, and I think we did that very well. These are players that play in small spaces. They find the spaces anyway. They attack well, going behind the defenders. So we have to improve some weaknesses, mainly the coverage of the spaces, and I think we need to work a bit more on that and to also get ready for the next match, because to us it's a must-win game. It's a final. We need to see it as a final because it's very important to leave this tournament with a victory. Professor Roberto Morales, Radio del Plata, Buenos Aires. You just talked about a process of generational renewal. So, what are the deadlines you have set out for yourself and for the Bolivian team to finish that process and to recover the standing it had decades ago? So, well, it depends on the national league and on the national team. For us, it would be better to have players engage in the national team once they are more prepared. We are discussing these internally in the federation. Football is not only about results and the performance on the pitch. There are external factors, preparation of players. Unfortunately, we don't have a U20 National League or a U16 National League or a U15. The players have very small cycles of preparations. One time every 3 or 4 months, they come together for a micro cycle of preparation, and that is another challenge in Bolivia. Process cannot take place in 3 or 4 months, maybe 1 year, 2 or 6 for the next World Cup in 2030, as it happened with Jamaica. Jamaica got to a World Cup with a Brazilian head coach, and they prepared 8 years, 2 World Cups to qualify to one World Cup. That happened with Panama, with Costa Rica as well. And I think that this is the right process. In Bolivia, in the last 10 years, the team saw 10 head coaches. I think you cannot have one head coach per year. This is a process. We'll suffer all together. We need to bear until the end so that Bolivia can qualify once more to a World Cup. Last question. Omar Cabrera, 930 New York. A colleague talked about the qualifiers that are right around the corner, but you are talking about timing and processes. In life, sometimes we need to aid the processes to make them more rapid, to speed them up. What do you think is the right way to speed that process up so that Bolivia can access to these tournaments and to bring joy to the country? Well, I think, I've been with Bolivia for 4 years. For 2 years and a half, I coached Bolivar and then the national team. And I think, things have improved in 4 years. Bolivian teams are competing more in international cups such as Libertadores Cup or Sudamericana Cup or South American Cup. And out of the national teams in this tournament, very few players actually play in South America. Most play in the European football. Uruguay, I think only one is playing in Uruguay. In Argentina, two. In Brazil, one or two play domestically. And we have to compete against these players from major sides. They have players in major clubs and leagues. They play in different conditions on well-conditioned fields. But Bolivia has many projects right now. They are restructuring the fields and the stadiums. The next step is that, not every team in Bolivia has a GPS system. 6 out of 16 use the GPS system. And that would be good to collect data from the teams. Everywhere in the world, teams are playing with GPS. Another project is trying to improve the league, having a national league for the youth categories like the U20. We want to have U17, U15. I think that would make us grow a bit more. The Bolivian people suffer football because it's been 30 years since Bolivia qualified to a World Cup, 10 years since they have not won a Copa America match. So this is a process, and the right processes need time. They need the collective effort, the togetherness. It's not easy. It's easier to criticize a person that you don't know rather than praise them. We apologize from the booth. We cannot hear them. Yes, I do believe we have to have a general awareness so that Bolivia can go back to a World Cup, can perform better, and compete in a Copa America, to be protagonist through its clubs in the Libertadores Cup. But it's a process, and you have to give it time. It takes years of work to have a happy ending for this story. And I don't know if I will be part of it or other people, but I really hope that this can happen one day. To have a coach that can lead Bolivia and organize Bolivia and provide it with structure, as we are trying to do. Thank you very much.